Welcome to Retail Daily Event Highlights for NRF 2021 Chapter 1. This is our fourth recording on Thursday, January 14th, the third day of the event. I'm Matt Gardner, here with Robin Wilson and Evan Bowler. All of us a part of SAP's retail advisory practice, here to share highlights from today's sessions.
Hey, Matt. Why don't we start with you today? What do you think stood out most?
Thanks, Robin. Yeah, if I was going to sum it up in one word, I would say flexibility. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, of the need to be able to pivot and be ready for whatever's coming, be it another pandemic, be it changes in consumer sentiment or behavior, and the way that cloud technologies in particular facilitate this agility in the face of whatever may come up. There was one session on how to make data-driven decisions. A couple of his key points. He said that data should be stored and available in its raw form. With some businesses, it might be impossible to store all the data, but the point is to keep as much of it as you can available. And then it should be cataloged. So you have an inventory of the assets so that organizational silos go away because everybody has access to the pools and can look at the index to understand what's available for them to leverage. And then his third main point was that with these two things as a foundation, you can really move your analytics from descriptive, which is what happened, to diagnostic, which is why did it happen, and then into true insight, which is predictive, what will happen, and ultimately to prescriptive, what should we do? And that's the maximum business value that comes from this. And by going through that journey, by setting up your data stores correctly, the cloud allows you to do this at scale.
Hey, Matt, definitely agree with the theme around flexibility and agility. It reminds me of a great session that I saw this afternoon with technology leaders from both the Home Depot and Macy's. They both did a really great job of underscoring the importance of technology partnerships now more than ever. Retailers back in March and April were scrambling on a region by region and store by store basis, trying to implement some of these new formats. And these brands really had to rely on their flexible and trusted technology partners to help them deliver these new objectives. The CTO from Macy's referenced how the approach that they're taking is really stepping back from trying to predict the future with a super high degree of accuracy and shifting more towards being agile and present and focusing on their operational excellence. A couple of examples that he used was offering new and flexible payment options, agile delivery partnerships with ride-sharing programs and third-party delivery services, as well as a strong focus on mobile. He even used the example of how they were able to roll out curbside pickup and some of these technologies at the store level in just a couple of days, and in some instances, a couple of hours, which really helped them stay alive at the beginning of the shutdown.
So I would agree with you both. Flexibility was definitely a theme. I actually focused on the luxury brands for my sessions today. So one that I really have been interested in is what Alibaba Group is doing in the Asian market. And we have a lot of our customers who talk to us about their move to China and what's going on there. And so Alibaba and Machino talked about their relationship. Here's Alibaba that's got 700 million people on the platform. Machino has a much younger customer and, it's a higher price point. And so they talked about how customers in Asia are younger than they are in other parts of the world when it comes to purchasing luxury goods. They typically buy those luxury items when they're on vacation and traveling. So Alibaba came up with this idea of how do we make a great experience at home and really make it different, right? So that was a big pivot for them and a big point of flexibility, right? So how do they do something different? It's live streaming of fashion shows. It's being able to look at stylists and have them style the clothes. And it's just the ability to deliver a different experience. They're seeing that the stylists are really effective and that video shopping is also really bringing them the ROI they were hoping for.
Did they speak at all to how they're doing that at scale? Because just like you said, the 700 million, that's an amazing amount of people. I would feel like they'd have to have an awful lot of stylists available.
Yeah, actually, they didn't talk about this in the session, but I do know just from a little bit I know about Alibaba, just like a webinar, the stylists are going out and saying that they're going to be on at a certain time and they let their followers know. And at that specific time, the customers show up. So it's really pretty innovative and they've got it pretty much figured out. What'll be really interesting to see is if brands in the US start to do that, right? I think there are a lot of nuances that those of us who don't live in that part of the world don't really understand. And so I think there's an opportunity for brands who market in the US to catch up and really take advantage of that kind of technology.
That was really interesting, Robin. Do you know any other luxury brands outside of Alibaba that are doing anything innovative?
Evan, because we work with all sorts of retailers, there were quite a few last year that did some pretty interesting things. One that really stands out to me was Ralph Lauren. So Ralph Lauren put a few of their premier stores virtually online. So for example, I could shop in the Beverly Hills store right now and it looks just like the store, right? So you walk through the entryway and you work your way through the store and you can click on the items and buy them. You can connect with a stylist. You can make an appointment. Very different than other virtual stores that we've seen in the past. It felt real. It felt like I was walking through the store myself. And then we also saw beauty brands really lean into virtual trying on of lipsticks and colors and eyeshadows. And we just saw a lot of updates of those types of apps that really catered to the customer because they were no longer able to go in and touch and feel and open samples and use them and try them on and all of those types of things. Consumers who shop luxury brands, this is the type of high touch that they're looking for.
Yeah, I think we've heard throughout the last couple of days that creating those experiences digitally is extremely important for brands that rely on the touch and feel, like the beauty brands and some consumer products goods as well.
I find this progression through augmented reality and really moving towards virtual reality really interesting. In what you were just saying, Robin, my mind was going towards, oh, wow, they're getting ahead of that curve.
Consumers really just want to shop wherever they want to shop. They're not thinking about channels. They're not thinking about whether or not they can return something in the store that they bought online. They just want to shop the way they want to.
The executive of the Home Depot really highlighted that he sees a surge of new business formats and formations coming out of this new economy and these changes in consumer behavior. And he definitely noted that there's still plenty of unknowns, but all that they can do as a brand is make sure that they're ready to support this new economy. And they want to be ready to shift to this new world of not just offering products as a retailer, but services and experiences and meeting their customers where they demand.
That highlights something for me in another session today by Forrester. And it's almost like there's this gradient of people that are ahead and people that are just having to shore everything up because COVID really made things real for them. And so some points that he made in this is just that consumers are being trained to expect omni-channel services everywhere by everyone. He had a chart showing that buy online, pick up in store, ship from store, ship to store, and endless aisle are all becoming ubiquitous. So he said you're either finalizing things now, where this showed you it's something you needed to do, or you've already finished this years ago, so you're focused on these differentiated experiences that Robin, you just shared, and Evan, you just shared about.
Yeah, definitely, Matt. And where that brings my mind is, how do we create these differentiated experiences? What I heard from the CTO of Macy's was that they were really focused on creating integrated systems that they can glean actionable data insights from. And he highlighted the need for skilled technical workers with analytical backgrounds. And I think we're just going to continue to see competition heat up over these talented employees, particularly in retail.
That reminds me of one other thing the Forrester analysts highlighted, which is that the forgotten stakeholder in a lot of decisions is usually the store employee, and that their buy-in is critically important. And it makes a lot of sense. We talked about this yesterday. What is the experience the frontline employee is having? Because that cascades ultimately down to the experience the customer has.
There was a session this afternoon titled Workplace Wellness, and it really encompassed the idea that the quality of the experiences that we're providing to our employees, especially our frontline employees, matters now more than ever. Everything 2020 brought has had a big impact on everyone's stress levels and mental health, specifically in retail, where we've been asking our frontline employees to be doing more and more in the stores and also incurring some more risk, right? Being on the front lines during a health pandemic.
You both bring up a really good point. All very good topics to think about. Speaking of topics, I'll just do a little pivot here, if that's okay with you guys. And I thought we could talk a little bit about what we are looking forward to seeing next week. As we all know, we have a break on Friday, and then Monday is Martin Luther King Day, so we won't be here for those days. But I have started looking at the agenda, and a lot of our customers are going to be speaking. So I'm excited to see what Ulta has to say once again. PVH is going to be talking again. And then there are some direct-to-consumer brands that are smaller. They're going to share about their experiences during COVID, because as you know, direct-to-consumer brands, they're really changing the face of retail. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing some of those sessions.
I've actually only looked at the agenda for Tuesday next week, but there are a few sessions I'm curious to see. The first is on creature comforts, serving consumers' desires for life's simple pleasures. This is on pets and food with the CEO of Chewy Inc., as well as the president of Sonic Drive-In. They've become an oasis for guests during the pandemic, so should have some really interesting insights on how they've maximized health and safety while giving people an escape from the lockdown at home. Another session that interests me is on blockchain, as I like to hear the latest trends with how it's being implemented for retail, as it's always seemed to have a lot of promise.
I can't believe the first week is already over. This virtual event went almost as fast as the in-person event. I'm excited for week 2, and it looks like there's some great sessions around supply chain and inventory and really enabling some of these great digital strategies that we've been hearing so much about.
So, Evan, I would agree. It has been a very full week, and it's moved very quickly. I really enjoyed the week. I enjoyed the recaps with you all and getting together at the end of each day to hear what you all thought of the sessions that you attended. I'm really hoping that our audience enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to coming back next week and doing it all over again. So thank you both for joining me.
Thanks, Robin. Looking forward to next week.
Yes, thanks so much, Robin and Evan, and everyone listening. Have a great Friday and a great long weekend if you have it, and we'll see you next week.
Time for wine.
This is our last podcast of the week, and we'll be back next week to continue sharing insights from the NRF 2021 Chapter 1 event. As a reminder, we're attending the top sessions from hundreds across the event and unpacking insights with top retail experts each day. Our goal is to bring you great summaries so you can keep a pulse on the leading retail trends for 2021. We'll be recording just after each day's activities, and you can find us by the SAP social handles, including SAP Industries, SAP Retail, and SAP Consumer across YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Or visit our event site at sap.com/NRF. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we look forward to connecting with you next week.